Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying very important topic, transportation in human beings. So let's continue. In my previous lecture, I told you about the blood. So I told you that most of the part of the blood is blood plasma. Okay, it makes up 55% of the blood. And if we talk about the rest part, then it is known as blood corpuscles. And generally, there are three types of blood corpuscles which are present in the blood. That is RBCs, means red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles and platelets. So let's talk about these blood corpuscles in the detail. Okay, so here we are going to talk about the blood corpuscles. Okay, we are going to talk about blood corpuscles. First of all, we will talk about the red blood corpuscle. First of all, red blood corpuscle. Okay, so red blood corpuscle is also known as RBCs. Okay, they contain iron, which is iron pigment, which is known as hemoglobin. Okay, it's also known as RBCs. Okay, they contain iron pigment, which is known as hemoglobin. They contain iron pigment, hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin combines with the oxygen and then it is carried to the different parts to the body. Okay, hemoglobin combines with oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin and is carried to the different part and carry it to different parts of the body. Okay, so thus we can say that hemoglobin, which is rich in iron, is responsible for the red color in the blood. Okay, so we can say hemoglobin, which is what? Which is red color pigment. Hemoglobin gives red color to the blood. Okay, and generally 5 million RBCs are present in per cubic millimeter blood. Fine. So if we talk about their structure, generally RBCs are enucleated cells. Okay, so what are the presence of hemoglobin in the blood make it red, and we can say generally these are enucleated cells. So we can mention here that each RBC is circular. If we talk about the shape, then it is circular, concave and enucleated. Circular, concave and enucleated. Okay, so this is the structure of RBC, that these are circular, concave and enucleated. And function, what is the function of RBC? It gives red color to the blood because of the presence of iron pigment, which is known as hemoglobin. This hemoglobin combines with the oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin and carry it to the all parts of the body. Okay, this hemoglobin is carried by the blood to the all parts of the body, and thus it supplies oxygen to the different parts of the body. Clear? So thus we can say the function of RBC is to supply oxygen to the different parts of the body. Clear? Because hemoglobin, which is red pigment or which contains iron, it get combines with the oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin, and thus in this way it provides or supplies oxygen to all the parts of the body. So this is the function of RBC. Now we are going to talk about WBC. So here we talked about the RBCs, means red blood corpuscles, that these are also known as RBCs. It contain iron pigment known as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin combines with oxygen and makes oxyhemoglobin, which is carried by blood to the different parts of the body. Okay, hemoglobin give red color to the blood, and each RBC is circular and concave and enucleated. Now we are going to talk about white blood corpuscles. Next is white blood corpuscles. Generally, white blood corpuscles are also known as WBC. They are irregular in shape. Okay, they may be round or non-nucleated. Okay, let me mention. Generally, these are known as WBC. They are irregular in shape. They are irregular in shape, and they are nucleated. Okay, generally they varies in numbers. They may be 5,000 to 10,000 in per cubic millimeter blood. Okay, so here we can mention they vary in number. They may be 5,000 to 10,000. They may be 5,000 to 10,000 in per cubic, 5,000 to 10,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, if we talk about the function of white blood cells or WBC, then they defend the body from the injuries. Function of the WBC is they defend the body from infections. They defend the body from infections. Okay, this is the reason they are also known as leukocytes. They are also known as leukocytes. So another name of WBC is leukocyte. The function of these WBC is that they defend the body from the infections. Okay, generally they are of two types. What are they? Let me explain you. WBCs are of two types. Okay, what are they? Let me explain you here. Generally, WBCs are of two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes means granules in the cytoplasm and lobed nucleus. What is the feature of granulocyte? The feature of granulocyte is they have granules in the cytoplasm and lobed nucleus. Agranulocyte, another type of WBC is agranulocyte, lack granules. It lack granules in cytoplasm and non-lobed nucleus is found. Fine. So if we talk about the various parts of the granulocyte, then they have three parts: neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. These are the three parts of granulocytes. What are they? Neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. Fine. Again, agranulocyte, then they are of two types, lymphocytes and monocytes. Okay, so thus we can say WBC, which are known as white blood cells, they are generally irregular or they have nucleus. Fine, so they are known as nucleated. The function of WBC is that it defends the body from the infections. Generally, WBCs are of two types, granulocyte and agranulocyte. Granulocyte means granules are found in the cytoplasm and they have lobed nucleus. Agranulocyte means granules lack in the cytoplasm and non-lobed nucleus are found. Granulocyte, it has three parts: neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. Agranulocytes have two parts: lymphocytes and monocytes. This is all about the WBC. Now we are going to talk about the third part of the blood corpuscle, that is platelets. We discussed the two parts of blood corpuscles. One was red blood cells, second is white blood cells, and third is platelet. Now we are going to talk about platelets. So these platelets are generally flat or non-nucleated. Fine. Next is, third one is platelets. So if we talk about the platelets, they are flat and non-nucleated fragments of the large cells. They are flat, non-nucleated fragments of large cells. Okay. Generally, when the blood vessel is cut, then the blood comes out from the blood vessels. Then after some time, we can find a clot there on at the place of the cut. Why it happens? That clotting of blood takes place by these cells which are known as platelets. Okay, so thus we can say that platelets are responsible for the blood clotting. They help to clot the blood. Now what happens in the case of decrease of platelets? It can cause the death because it causes the excessive bleeding in the blood vessels. Okay, so thus it can cause the death also. Next, if the blood vessel is cut, blood comes out. After some time. So after time means within few minutes. After some time, a clot forms there. This to stop the oozing of the blood. Okay, this clotting of the blood takes place due to the presence of these cells called, or special cells called, platelets. Okay, so these are the platelets. Platelets means flat non-nucleated fragments of large cells which helps in the clotting of blood. Now here we discussed about the blood corpuscles, three types of blood corpuscles. What were they? They were RBCs, WBCs and platelets. So in my previous lecture, or as I started the lecture, I told you about the blood components of bloods. Here, yes, we can see that blood has two components. What are they? Plasma and blood corpuscles, or also known as cellular components. So before that I told you that generally blood vascular system has three parts: blood vessels and heart. So here the topic bloods get completed. Now we will talk about the blood vessels. Okay, so as I told you, blood has different parts. Here were they. Now we are going to talk about the second part of blood vascular system, that is blood vessels. Generally, the blood vessels in the human beings, there are three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. Next is, we have already talked about the blood. Now we are going to talk about blood vessels. Okay, blood vessels. So in the human being, generally three types of vessels are present. What are they? Arteries, veins and capillaries. In the human beings, three types of vessels are present. What are they? Arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, so as I told you, blood vessels are of three types: arteries, veins and capillaries. So we are going to talk about them in the details. If we talk about arteries, then these arteries carry the blood from the heart to the different parts of the body, and they have thick walls, and these walls are elastic. Fine. If we talk about veins, then these veins carry the blood from different parts of the body to the heart. Okay, they are thin walled. Fine, they are thin walled and less elastic. Capillaries, if we talk about the capillaries, then these capillaries are the smallest blood vessels. They lack the muscular wall, but they are lined by the squamous epithelium. Fine, so let's talk about them in the detail. First of all, we are going to write about the arteries. Arteries, as I told you, they carry blood away from the heart, to the different parts of the body. Okay, and generally they are thick walled and elastic. They are thick, or their wall is thick. They are thick walled and elastic. Fine. Next, we will talk about the veins. Veins carry the blood from different parts of the body to the heart. They bring, or they carry, you can write carry also, they bring blood from the different parts of the body to the heart. Okay, and they are thin walled. And less elastic. Okay, now if we talk about the third part of the blood vessel, that is capillaries. Then these capillaries are the smallest blood vessels. These are smallest blood vessels. Okay, they lack muscular wall. And they are having the squamous epithelium and they are lined by squamous epithelium. Okay, so this is all about the blood vessels. Now we are going to talk about the differences between arteries, veins and capillaries. Yes, so here we are going to talk about the comparative study of blood vessels. About, as I told you, blood vessels are of three types: arteries, veins and capillaries. So if we talk about first feature, that is direction of blood flow. So in the arteries, it take the blood away from the heart to different parts of the body. I told you that the function of artery is that it takes the blood away from the heart and supplies it to the different parts of the body. As well as veins, they bring the blood towards the heart. Veins bring the blood from the different parts of the body to the heart, from various parts of body. Okay, capillaries, the function of capillaries is that the blood flows from arterioles, means from capillaries to the venules. Okay, next is kind of blood. In the arteries, oxygenated blood except in pulmonary artery. Arteries, what kind of blood they carry? They generally carry oxygenated blood, and here except the pulmonary artery. Okay, so this point I'll explain you when I'll explain the structure and function of heart. Next is vein, kind of blood. Generally veins carry deoxygenated blood except in the pulmonary veins. Capillaries, blood changes from oxygenated to the deoxygenated. Okay, in the capillaries, blood changes from oxygenated to deoxygenated, means when the blood enters into the capillary, it is oxygenated, means it carries the oxygen. Okay, but it get converts deoxygenated here in the capillaries, means it becomes deoxygenated, means oxygen, it lost the oxygen completely. Okay, next is blood pressure. So in the arteries, pressure is high, blood pressure is high, but in the veins pressure is low. Clear? In the arteries blood pressure is high, but in the veins blood pressure is low. Here in the capillaries, blood pressure is smoothly without the jerks. These were the differences. Next is blood flow. In the arteries, blood flows rapidly with the jerks. In the veins, blood flows smoothly without the jerk. And in the capillaries, blood flows smoothly without jerks. Next is lumen. Lumen of the arteries is narrow, lumen in the vein is wide, and lumen in the capillary is very small. Next point is semilunar. Then in the arteries, semilunar is absent, in the veins semilunar is present, and in the capillaries again semilunar is absent. Location. Okay, if we talk about the location of these blood vessels, then arteries are mostly deep seated. Okay, arteries are mostly deep seated. This will I explain you when I'll explain about the structure of heart. If we talk about the veins, then these veins are mostly superficial, and capillaries form a network of all over the body and in the organs. These capillaries form a network all over the body and in the organs. So these were the main differences, or we can say yes, these were the main differences between the three blood capillaries, which were arteries, veins and capillaries. So hope these topics like blood and blood vessels are clear to you. Thank you.